We need to have a conversation about how the game industry is handled, both for the customers of the gaming community and for the developers within the industry itself. Hello everyone, my name is Joe Mac, otherwise known as Support Crow, and this is not a normal video for this channel. Normally, I talk about single-player, create-a-character role-playing games with choices and consequences. So why am I confusing the algorithm with this off-brand video? Well, because it's extremely important for us to have this conversation. As an overall community, both gamers and developers, we are facing two major bosses that are stomping over how we create games, how we buy games, and how we're supposed to enjoy games. In this video, I'm going to explain what these two bosses are, what problems they are causing for both gamers and developers, and lastly, warn you about a possible future of this industry if it's allowed to continue in the way that it is. Let's get started. The first major boss we are fighting is live service, or rather, the publishers that are trying to push live service down our throats when it is just not working. The second, more recent major boss is artificial intelligence. Publishers are investing heavily into developing AI, and seem to have no interest in slowing down. The problems we face because of these two bosses vary and attack us on multiple fronts. When it comes to live service games, corpos are trying to win big on the live service slot machine. They want to have the next Fortnite, but their ambitions get in their own way. Instead of allowing developers to create the games they want to play, publishers such as Electronic Arts and Warner Brothers impatiently rush the development. The focus is on creating a successful get-rich-quick scheme rather than a fun and enjoyable game for consumers. This is how consumers ended up being offered games like Anthem and Gotham Knights and Multiverses and Concord, Skull and Bones, Quidditch Champions, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's also how hundreds of developers get laid off, projects get cancelled, studios shut down, because when the live service gamble doesn't pay off, that money has to be taken from somewhere, and it's not like the publisher is going to take it from their own pocket. One failed attempt is bad enough as it is, but the problem compounds further because these publishers keep going back to the slot machine, and every time they lose, that's another 100 developers that are out of a job. That's another future project that's been cancelled. That's another studio that's been shut down. When it comes to artificial intelligence, corpos are liquidizing assets so they can invest more into AI development. When people say that AI is coming for their jobs, that is not an exaggeration. It is actively happening. While every publisher is up to some kind of AI bullshittery, perhaps the most passionate and current champion of the AI takeover is Microsoft. In just this year alone, Microsoft and Xbox have laid off 15,000 employees, from game developers and beyond. And while Microsoft and Xbox have thrown up the corpo jargon, saying this is to position gaming for enduring success, the reality is that these layoffs were completely unnecessary. Xbox had a stellar brand. They were pulling in success after success, and Microsoft on its own has achieved billions in profit. The decision was made to acquire more money for the further investment of AI, regardless as to whom or what was going to get axed. Perhaps the best example to highlight this cold-heartedness is a now deleted LinkedIn post by Matt Turnbull, the executive producer of Xbox Game Studios Publishing. Within that post, he sympathizes with those laid off and suggests they can use AI like ChatGPT or Copilot to, quote, help reduce the emotional and cognitive load that comes with job loss. Because that is exactly what a dev that's been laid off because of AI needs right now. ChatGPT telling them to get back on their feet. And throughout the last couple of weeks, we've seen some major hits happen to Bethesda, Halo Studios, Turn 10, Blizzard, and many more. Perhaps the most notable being ZeniMax, who were working on an entirely new MMO IP that supposedly blew Phil Spencer and other Xbox executives away. Unfortunately, it didn't blow away any chance of the project being cancelled. Then there was the closure of Romero Games and the layoff of its 100 developers. John Romero is a legend in gaming history. He and John Cormack are the reason why we have Doom, why we have the first-person shooters we have today, why we have online team deathmatch, and why we have online tournaments that rake in millions of dollars. In their sales pitch to acquire studios, Xbox and Microsoft promised job security and creative freedom. However, with the slightest aroma of the potential profitability of artificial intelligence, they have dropped that promise like a dead body. It doesn't matter how good you are at your job. It doesn't matter what game you make. It doesn't matter if your studio creates a game that is so enthralling that you literally have to yank it out of Phil Spencer's hands. It doesn't matter if you're working for game development legend John fucking Big Gun Romero. There is nothing too successful or too sacred that will stop you from getting fired at any time on any day. This needs to change. The solution, I believe, is to reduce the corporatization within the gaming industry, as improbable as that might seem right now. Over the last few decades, publishers and corporations have wedged themselves in between game development and the gaming community. As a result, we now have suits like Electronic Arts telling developers what games to make and telling customers what games they should enjoy. Instead, it should be developers creating games that they want to play, and customers deciding what their demand actually is. Over the years, we've seen a corporatized industry put profit over passion, decline quality in favor of quantity, reduce creative freedom, and create predatory methods to empty out our wallets. I'm not sure how this solution can manifest exactly. Perhaps studios should start a Patreon like Sockpot Collective, and we just support individual studios directly. Because even in something as complex as the industry, I've got a feeling the old adage still holds true. Sometimes it's just better to do it yourself. Whatever the solution is, there needs to be one, and there needs to be one soon. If you study game history and believe that history repeats itself, then you kinda already know what's coming. The first time the gaming industry crashed was because of an oversaturation of quantity over quality games hitting the shelves. Once Microsoft and EA and the rest of them figure out how to create games by just pressing a button, can you imagine how many shitty Fortnite clones are going to flood the market? I'd rather not find out. I used to believe that we would never have another crash, that we learned that lesson all those years ago. However, it seems like we're about to make the same mistake again, which is why I'm calling on any content creator for any game out there to start having this conversation. Make your people aware of what is at stake. It doesn't matter if you only focus on MMOs, RPGs, Hogwarts Legacy, The Elder Scrolls, or Candy Crush. A crash will hurt everyone. Content creators, gamers, developers, and even the corpo publishers themselves. They're just too blinded by dollar signs to see it. I hope we can figure out a solution soon, because the path we're on now is simply not sustainable. Until then though, be safe, be well, be kind. Bye-bye.